Hello, hello, hello. It's book club night, and welcome to my so-called book club. My name is Natalie, and I have a channel member and subscriber joining me tonight, which is Grendelson. What up, Grendelson?
What up? Hello. Thank you
This
for
is
having
going to be
me.
this. Oh, absolutely! I'm excited to have you tonight because, um, I you seem to have a better grip on this book than I do, and I I need some guidance so I don't go off the rails and only get through half of a chapter in one sitting. So I'm excited to have you on tonight, and we'll talk through chapters 5 and 6 of Generations from William Strauss and Neil Howe, and I'm excited about this. This is going to be good. So thanks for joining me tonight.
Me too.
Well, let's see who we got. We got Vizak here. Kitaya is here. Can you see the chat, Grendelson?
No, I
You
can't.
cannot see it. Okay. I'll just go ahead and put it up so you can at least see it on the screen, maybe.
Oh, that's tiny.
That's tiny. I
Let me
thought
try
that
to-
I thought that you'd be able to see the comments on your screen, but I'm not 100% sure
No.
how. On the right side there should be, because you sent me a private chat, and then on top there should be a comments button.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, and that should bring up the comments.
Oh, I see it. Yay. Okay.
Yay! All right. Hey, John, how's it going? Hello. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight.
I'm technically.
All right. So, for those of you that are just joining us, haven't been into a book club before, I have opened this up to non-members tonight because we talked last week about opening up the book club to the whole channel instead of just members. And then I'm going to come up with another little treat or perk for channel members outside of the book club, or maybe in addition to the book club. So, but we want to bring more people in because this book is so interesting. We are reading Generations, which is the history of America's future, 1584 to 2069, by William Strauss and Neil Howe. This is the book that introduced the world to the term millennial. This is the book that was kind of the first to in post, like in a world with Gen Xers, 1991, to really tackle the whole idea of generations and to define generations in America and go back to the founding of the country and before that. And they also, what they do here is they pick up different cycles and patterns that they've noticed throughout American history, and then they take those theories that they've created over the patterns that they've seen, and they project it forward into 2069 and make some predictions about the future of American politics and American generations. And they can make those predictions because of the patterns of the different generations that recur in the United States. I hope that made sense. If not, please let me know.
Predictions, which I think are turning out to be 100% true.
They're unbelievable how close they are. Yeah, the book cover is so 90s. You're right, 1991, and I love it.
I mean, I remember seeing it on the stands in 91.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I wanted to amend something that I did last week, because I kept saying that the crisis started around 9/11. But I went to the Fourth Turning is Here, which is the William Strauss or the Neil Howe book that he put out a couple of years ago. And he said in that book that he believes that the crisis started in 2008, and he projects it to go out to about 2032-ish. 2028 to 2032 is will be the zenith of the current crisis. That's his prediction, amended for more modern times. So I wanted to throw that in and see what you thought about that, Grendelson. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more and more towards opening up my mind to that later date of or that early of a date as the crisis start. I think because the start date is really almost nebulous. It doesn't really need to be a specific time. It just needs to be kind of like a inciting incident.
Right.
I think you had it spot on last week when you said the financial crisis.
Yeah.
I really did think about that.
Right.
How that financial crisis really affected Obama's presidency, and then the snowball effect from there. Which led into Trump's first presidency. And
right. and how it affected the different generations at the time, because you got to think of, boomers were midlife going into elders, we were rising adulthood going into midlife, then you had the millennials going into the workforce. So how that affected each of us so differently, and and not just the financial crisis, but the reaction to it, who was bailed out, who, which generations were, we really focused on, we're focusing on the older generations and making sure they're financially secure at the expense of the younger, it seems. Am I wrong there?
No, I think that's 100% right. And I think that that's been the way it is. I mean, if you go back, which, as the whole point of why we're going through the cycles of the generations, it's because that's the same pattern that keeps repeating itself, especially with the two different types of cohorts, repeating each other, repeating, one the ascending, one the what was it? It's not the ascending, but it's the, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and there's so many different terms. We'll get into it here. Kitaya says, still on the verge of Nat's theory that millennial will skip the hero archetype, and Howe actually addresses this in The Fourth Turning Is Here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think, with a deeper reading of this particular, not this passage, not this chapter, but the next chapter, that you might be on the right. But the generation that's going to skip a cycle, the millennial, it's going to be the Gen Z. Right. And they may skip and we have to talk about like which cycle got skipped. Right.
Yeah. And this is something that we're going to get into in future chapters. We probably should go into the foundations of chapters 5 and 6 of what we're going to talk about today. So chapter 5 is about the cycle in America. And basically, from the way I take this chapter going into this, is that the cycle in America always presents itself every 80 years to a crisis point, a crisis constellation. And when we get to that crisis point, we always have a certain kind of generational constellation that is in place. It's always the same, which is, hold on, let me bring up, I got some pretty things to show here. So let me get to the book here. Okay, so when we get into a crisis constellation, we always have an idealist elder generation, a reactive midlife generation, a civic rising adulthood generation, and an adaptive young generation, youth. So, and that's where we are exactly right now. We have here on figure 5.1 on page, what page is that?
84.
84. So when you see the different generations throughout American history, so what they have done is they have divided everything up into different cycles. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cycles. And we're currently in the 5th, which is a millennial cycle. And I did want to say, I'm kind of mad that they named a cycle and a generation millennial, because I think that's a little confusing. So each cycle lasts about 80 years and has 4 generations inside of it. And as we go through each cycle, you'll go through an awakening, and then you'll go into a crisis every few years. So each cycle. So when we get into a crisis moment, which is what we're in right now, it always has the idealist elders, the reactive midlife, the civic rising adults, and the adaptive youth. And so let's go back to the very beginning. So it starts out in chapter 5 talking about the gray champion. Do you want to talk a little bit about the gray champion and how you took that, and kind of what your take was on why they went with gray champion and what they're talking about here?
It's interesting. I've been doing a lot of listening. I've been listening to a podcast called Why History Doesn't Suck. And it's it starts from the beginning of like pre-revolution and goes all the way up through modern times.
Nice.
I just finished with the revolution, and I have like 200 more episodes to go.
Oh my goodness.
So this stuff is like, I'm like really into the revolutionary period right now.
Nice.
And there's a couple of different like interpretations of what this particular gray champion was. Like one is how it was just like the spirit of the freedom fighters, and that's like pretty much the accepted. But another one was that it was really Nathaniel Hawthorne's critique on what we're doing, like going back and looking at history and trying to find the cyclical nature of it.
Right.
Which I find is fascinating that in 1837 even Hawthorne might have been saying, "Hey, you know, you can look at this stuff."
Right.
And he comes up with the idea that the great champion is cyclical, which is what really interested me. Like I'm wondering, like, who's our current great champion?
Well, here is what the way I took it. To me, the great champion is the idealist generation who are elders in a crisis.
Okay, I like that. I like that idea.
Which would be from the boomer generation, unfortunately. But it's the idea. It's the idealist. It's always a person from the idealist generation who are elders in a crisis moment. Because remember, the great champion that he's described as the figure of an ancient man,
right?
And he's an older person, a leader, dispensing wisdom to the youth that have to do the fight.
Right.
So to me, it is the great. That's what I wrote here in my notes. The great champion is the idealist generation who are elders in a crisis. So.
Yeah, so maybe it is. I mean, going to what Vizak's saying, maybe it's Barack Obama.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the and this is the thing that's really interesting is because the boomers are the last, in my mind, the last representation of the old world post World War II order.
Yeah.
The world that was created when World War II ended with all of the treaties and the deals and all of the foreign policies, the monetary policy, all that stuff that was created post World War II. Well, we are 80 years later now, and now that's falling apart, and so we're going into a totally new world order. But the boomers, our elder generation, are trying to hold on to that old world order. So how much of a great champion can they be? How much of a steward of values can they be if we are literally in the middle of a changeover to a new way of life, if that makes any sense?
No, it does. And it also, if that's the case, maybe that really also ties into the fact that this crisis may avert an entire cohort into skipping one of those, either that which one is it? Let's scroll back up here. Either the civic or the adaptive generations.
Right. Yeah, and that's yeah. And I think Vizek, I think the great champion was a real person in 1689, but then it became a metaphor because he returned 80 years later, and he keeps return. Like, to me, it might have started as a real person, but became a metaphor. Or maybe I just totally made that up in my head.
Well, no, I think the way I read it is that in 1869 there really was this parade by the governor of Massachusetts, and then there was a later incident in 1875 where a guy came out of the crowd and saved some people's lives. Two completely different incidents that Hawthorne meshed together into one.
Right.
So, you know, to make court, which is the way all good myths are created. It's always a little bit of truth from here, a little bit of truth from there.
Right.
You know, it may have been. There was probably a real person. You know. I mean,
yeah.
But even still, the concept. It's like the concept of the American psyche, the concept of the freedom fighter, the one who's take on and
it's the American myth and legend. It's the it's the basis of our,
and in a way, you can actually point to the boomers and say they, amongst any of the generations that have been the elders, were almost from birth created to be the elders. At least they think they were.
Right. Let's see what we got here. $2 from Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift. The boomers tried to destroy the World War II gen. Yes. And that is kind of that is definitely explained in this. I think that's touched on in this book, not explained, but touched on, about how the boomers rose up against their GI elders, against their lost generation elders. That was the awakening of the 60s and the 70s, the me generation. That was, yes, they are. I mean, and they did. They went from, because here's the thing, they went from, before World War II, it was all about individual countries and national pride, sovereignty, specific boundaries. But we went into a globalist thing where we're all global citizens. And that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how many people 80 years later now would go and fight for their country, as opposed to back then? We lost a whole generation of men who were willing to go and fight for their countries, right? Mm-hmm. And their way of life.
Some countries more. Some countries lost a lot more of their men, but
yeah. I mean, we lost
U.S. casualties compared to the Russian is
So like a whole, like, there was a whole couple of continents that lost a generation of like millions of their men, and now we've turned into an order where who's going to go fight for your own, like it's been globalized, is what I'm trying to say. It destroyed that they destroyed what their parents had built, basically, is what I'm trying to say. They destroyed what their parents had built, if that makes any sense. And yeah, boomers are in the awakening, so they should break things. Yeah. Third party Taylor Swift for 28.
I mean, in a way, they were groomed for it, Mm-hmm. I mean, they were, they were coddled, they were groomed.
Well, I want to know what was, if you look at America in the early late 1950s, early 1960s, like right post World War II, when they were building this, the cities were being built, the homes were being built, the money was being infused into the country. If you look at birth rates, you look at marriage rates, and this is over all races, not just white people, but if you look over all races, there was improvement everywhere. Like, what was so bad about that time that the boomers felt like this all needs to be burned down, if you know what I mean? Like, what was it that was so bad that they were like, we've got to stop all this?
That's a really interesting, you gotta have to ask the boomers,
Yeah.
Because it is kind of baffling when you take a look at it. Then again, I think when you do ask the boomers, they might say, well, what you as the younger generation didn't experience the 50s and the 60s, it wasn't what you see or what you perceive. And especially if you were white, I mean, it certainly wasn't what is perceived. Mm-hmm. So I think they just wanted to really have an effect. And I think a lot of what they were railing against were, the biggest awakening they had was the war. The biggest spiritual part, the most progressive part was the war. That's what they really wanted. I think
that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
The civil rights movement, they may have had a hand in, but that was a lot more government than it was.
Yeah.
It was the people.
Absolutely.
It was government's reaction to the unrest of the people. Of the people who were getting screwed. So, in that sense, it wasn't necessarily all of the boomers who were making civil rights better. They were working on the war aspect.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And that makes sense. Because the older I guess. Maybe I'm going to answer my own question here. The older generation was sending the boomers out to fight their wars.
Right.
And
they didn't want to go fight them.
They didn't want to go fight them.
And the reason they didn't want to go fight is because they didn't think it was a just war. Even, they did the same thing in 51 with Korea. They sent people in, but it was a much smaller scale.
Right.
They didn't learn the lesson the first time. I didn't learn the lesson the first time. Let's go again. We had a Southeast Asian.
So I had page 81 marked, like really highlighted. Hold on. Let me get to my own book here before I get to, let's see, page 81.
Like that paragraph, like the second to the last.
Okay. Yeah, the second to the last paragraph, where it starts out in each of America's decisive moments. So this is what I want to really harp on here for this chapter. In each of America's decisive moments of secular crisis, the Glorious Revolution of 1689, the American Revolution, the Civil War, and the twin emergencies of the Great Depression and World War II, this society has witnessed the cyclical return of a special breed of elder, a very different type from the outer focused, bustling senior citizen of the 1970s and 80s. At each of these four history turning moments, America turned for guidance to aging idealists, spiritual warriors, possessed of a strong inner vision, patriarchs commanding the respect and obedience of their juniors. All four of these generations of patriarchs had previously been young adults during an era of spiritual awakening. None of them had come of age facing a secular crisis even remotely similar to the one they face as grandparents.
I don't know that they even realize that we're facing a secular crisis right now.
I don't think they do either. and here's another thing that I wrote down about this is boomers took power earlier than the book thought they would, because when you go through what they project for the 90s, they think that the silent generation is going to, like the Bush presidency and that generation was going to hold on to power through the 90s. They didn't expect that the boomers were going to take power in 92, like way early. They took power early and they've held on to power longer and have suspended the growth and development of the generations behind them because they've held on to this power. And I'm wondering how that affects this theory of the turning of the generations. That's just another thought that I had. But these special senior citizens, and they are the elders of a secular crisis, and they don't even freaking realize it. So how do we even
over their head with a frying pan?
Right. Yeah, because I was looking at the numbers, and currently I think 60% of Congress is still baby boomers. 60% of Congress, that's people over 65 years old.
Well, and even if 1% of Congress is a silent, it's too many.
Right.
And there is.
We do have some silence
still around there.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. I think we see a massive, massive change in 2028. We see a generational handoff. And
well, I think some of that's I think some of that has started with like the rise of AOC, but also, I mean, not to get too political because I don't want to.
Right. I mean, here's the thing.
We kind of goes along with the,
we can talk current politics, but I don't want this to be into a war of my guy's better than your guy, or like, I don't want Trump hate. I don't want Mondami hate. I don't want hate on, I just, let's just talk about who the players are involved.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what so please.
Yeah, I'm just saying AOC as a member of the younger generation and as a rising politician,
right?
I think she could be kind of a linchpin that moves, her generation into power.
Right. We also have a millennial vice president right now. JD Vance is a millennial, and he is vice president. And I was going through the cabinet. The entire Trump cabinet is Gen X, except for Bobby Kennedy. The entire Trump cabinet is Gen X, which I thought was kind of interesting, because there's a lot of Gen Xers that are in.
I wonder what the comparison is with the first, with his first and his second.
Huh?
Like in his first cabinet, obviously, there would have been a lot more boomers.
A lot more boomers. There were almost all boomers. I'm sorry. There was Kennedy and Linda McMahon. Those are the only two that are boomers. Everybody else is X. But it kind of goes into this idea of the boomers are the dominant, the idealists. Gen X's are the reactive, recessive. So we're the pragmatics. We're the ones that have to manage the ideals of the boomers. We're the pragmatic ones that manage what's going on. And then it's the millennials, the civic, if they are the civic, the dominant, outer fixated that are going to usher in the new era, the post-crisis, the first turn. So it kind of holds we just are a little late because the boomers will not go anywhere, and the millennials, like very few millennials are merged. I wrote down the millennial leaders that I could think of off the top of my head were AOC, JD Vance, Zoran Mondami, and then I had, those are the only three in politics, and then I had Mark Zuckerberg, Eben Spiegel, who's the head of Snapchat, who's the CEO of Snapchat, and then Taylor Swift. Those were the only millennials I could come up with in business, in government, or in entertainment. So it'll be interesting to see. But then you got Gen X. Gen X, you got you have
much better.
yeah. Well, you have Gen X. You have Cory Booker, Josh Hawley, Gavin Newsom, Mike Lee, Ron DeSantis, Marco Rubio, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, Tulsi Gabbard, Scott Bessent. So there's people. I'm just interested to see who's going to be like the next wave. Like who's like when this generational handoff occurs, who will it be, and will Gen X get skipped? I guess is kind of what I'm asking. Are we going to get totally skipped and be in the background? I think we probably will. I think the big leaders come from the millennials. Yeah. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know that we're ever even going to have a president.
Yeah.
I don't think we will. I think the next president will probably still be a boomer.
You think?
I mean, I hope.
Who would it be? Give me a name. If you were to ask me right today, who would be the president, who would be the most likely to be elected president in 2028, I could give you three names. My top three, who I think they're all Gen Xers. No, I take that back. They're two Gen Xers and a millennial. In the context, it'll either be Gavin Newsom,
that's true.
Marco Rubio, or JD Vance. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I don't know if, but things change so fast. But as far as, you have to have some kind of a name now if you're going to be on a presidential ticket in 2028. So I'm fascinated by this. Where does the Democratic Party go in 2028? Like,
and also, I mean, not just the Democratic Party.
Republicans. Just a post-Trump world period. Like our whole political climate has been built around one man for a decade.
Yeah, I don't see. Again, we're getting off.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to. Let's go back to.
Let's go back to the book. Okay. Sorry.
That's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm here for too.
I mean, I'll sit here and talk about the next presidential election all week long. But
but that's but these are the kind
of because I think I know what you're leading up to is Generation X going to get skipped, or like, do you think that we're not what is the one after idealist? It's reactive.
Think we're the reactives. We're the recessive reactives.
Are you thinking that we're not, that the reactive is going to get skipped and we're going to be adaptive, or
no,
we're already reactive and that the next generation is either going to skip adaptive or it's going to?
When I say get skipped, I mean like we're not going to have any place in power or leadership, because
we're not talking about like how that whole generation got skipped.
Right. Yeah, no, we are a reactive recessive generation, 100%. And that usually means that you get skipped in a time of like your people don't get much say, or you basically you're the ones that kind of carry out the orders. You don't give the orders. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and by population numbers alone, we are the smallest of the current major generations.
Right. I think Gen Z might end up being smaller.
Gen Z may end up being smaller, but we're like right there with Gen Z right now.
Yeah.
And just, I have a feeling because, since Gen Z's years are pretty much.
Hold on. Who is this? All these generational labels are created by marketing firms. Fuck off. This is literally a book of generational theory from 3 decades ago, dude. So you can go. Bye-bye.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah. Yeah, Gen X are the pragmatic ones. So yeah, Mr. has left this live stream because I kicked him out.
Well,
Let's see. What else do I got here?
no, the generation labels are come up with by actual people who do some freaking research.
Yeah.
And,
There's a reason behind all of this.
and like, I don't know if you noticed, there's like this whole appendix in the back that have references and things.
Yeah, like there's
you can go back and look at. It's like this amazing. It's like the end of a Wikipedia art. I mean, I know.
Yeah. There is so much research in the back of this book, like and like it tells you where to find all of their stuff. So I mean, there's 200 pages of
chapter 6 alone. I mean, they talk about in this book by this person they put this in it.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't come up with this stuff. We're just
right. It's so many citations in this
advancing,
book.
Okay. So
so in the
not marketing for it.
Yeah, bottom of page 83, generational boundaries. The first cohort of each of the 5 idealist generations was born during or immediately after a secular crisis. Right. So that is the boomers, and that also will be theoretically Gen Alpha will be the next idealist generation because they are currently being born in a crisis.
They're currently being born in the crisis. Yeah. So
they're the idealists for the next cycle.
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
It's interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting to see because we're their parents.
Yes.
We and the millennials.
There's where our power lies. Yeah. There's where our power lies. We're their parents.
Yeah. And apparently, though, I mean, if you talk to anybody, we're not doing a very good job of parenting kids these days.
But this is actually addressed in the book.
Yeah.
This is addressed. It's we are, and I'm going to get into this in the next chapter, but there are other generations in American history just like us.
Yep.
And every time because they were so neglected in childhood, they overcompensate and go the other way and go helicopter on their children. And it's happened every time.
But the boomers did that too. And did it better or worse, comparatively, whichever you go. That was the funny thing. That I think is the real, because the boomers did both. And boomers are such a big generation that they are the parents, the majority parents of 2 generations.
Yes. And so the older boomers and the younger lost were the parents of the oldest Gen Xers. They are the ones that had the neglected children.
Right.
And then you had the younger boomers and the oldest Gen X who gave birth to the millennials.
The oldest Gen X and the youngest millennials.
Yeah. Yeah.
My cousin who was born in 1990 is a perfect example of an older boomer having a younger millennial. And oh my God, he was such a millennial.
Yeah. And so it's crazy. It's crazy how that happened. But I wanted to point something out here on page 84 in figure 5.1. If you go down to the bottom here in the millennial cycle, which we are currently in,
that's like a clear.
It has boom, the idealist generation, 13th or Gen X, the reactive generation. Then it has millennial and it says civic and it has a question mark next to it. So even back then they're questioning whether or not millennials will be the civic generation, or maybe I'm just reading into much into that question mark.
No, I think and that's the thing that I think you had that. I think they may skip civic and go straight to adaptive, just like Gildan and progressives did.
Yeah. Yep.
And either that or the next generation, Alpha, may skip idealist.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this has to do with
adaptive. I'm sorry, I meant to say Gen Z may skip adaptive and go straight to idealist.
Yeah. So millennial becomes the adaptive and Gen Z goes to idealist. That's a possibility.
Yeah, either way, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Either way, one of those generations might get skipped. Either it's going to be civic or adaptive.
Yeah.
And the way it's looking, I don't know. I think
it could go either way.
I don't see them building anything. I don't see them rebuilding, which is what the
or taking the suggestions or the orders from the elder boomers and implementing what they want. Like they're supposed to rebuild the institutions, rebuild the trust in the in the order, and I don't know how they do that. I
I
don't
don't
see.
either, and especially since elder boomers aren't dying off as fast
No.
as Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my uncle is still alive. Yay! Uh, um, I have an 80-year-old boomer uncle. He was born in February of 46.
Wow.
You do the math. And my grandfather did serve, and he was out in 44. So they got him right after. And he's in hospice right now, so he's still alive, but he's clinging on, and he is the epitome. I mean, I love my uncle. He's a great dude, but he's the epitome of a baby boomer. For
Right.
my life, he's been the example of a baby boomer that I have looked at as in awe when I was a little kid. I really looked up to boomers. I thought that they were really gonna, be amazing, and then, I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
No one knows what happened. The 80s happened. That's what
the 80s happened.
I think the 80s really screwed with boomers' minds.
Well, I think here's the thing, though. Boomers have lived through the biggest accumulation of wealth and technology in the history of the world. In their lifetime. And I actually read an article about this. If you were born between 1952 and 1958, you were born at the perfect time alongside the value of the dollar and the ability to create wealth. Like, because they were born at a time where the dollar could get you so much when it came to, buying a house or buying a vehicle or buying the necessity and building wealth. And it came at a time when the dollar was so strong, and then these financial institutions were put into place for investment, and they were right there, and they got there when they were just, how would you? I don't know how I would have handled all that. I don't. And some of them didn't know how to handle it.
One thing to remember was also the biggest increase in infrastructure in the American hemisphere.
Yeah.
Not just the United States, the whole hemisphere, northern hemisphere.
I mean,
and the rebuilding of most of Europe. So that industry alone, that really, and then we saw the same thing after World War One.
But even more so.
We saw the same thing in the South after the Civil War until they decided that they didn't want to do Reconstruction anymore.
Right. And it's just interesting that they were born at the perfect time, and they didn't know how to handle it. And I don't know, I would have known how to handle it either, because my parents today still don't get it. Like here's an example. My parents went through the financial crisis of 2008. They lost their business and they had to declare bankruptcy. It was a bad time. But in the 15 or almost 20 years since, they've been able to reaccumulate more wealth in the last 20 years than I've been able to accumulate my whole lifetime, because of what they had accrued beforehand, what they had to bankrupt, anyways, their relationships, their ability to borrow, and their ability, I don't know, they live in a world that I've never lived in, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I mean, what is this owning a house you talk about?
Right. The only no, I take that back. I did buy a house in 2020 and I sold it in 2022.
I
but
never had
but now the only way I'm going to be able to own houses is I'm going to inherit them from my parents. And that's all set up, but that's it. That's but I think that's going to happen to a lot of people over the next 10 years.
Yeah. A lot of my high school friends, that's the only way they have houses. One of them I just saw last weekend. He inherited the house from his mom.
Yeah.
My parents didn't even own a house. My grandparents, both my grandparents' sides owned houses. but I won't be inheriting either one. My maternal grandparents sold theirs in 1980.
Oh.
And lived off of the proceeds for the rest of their lives.
Oh no! But yeah, and I like how this whole house buying thing.
California.
Oh, California. That's a big one.
Prop 13.
California is a whole different world when it comes
Prop
to
13, and it was right before Prop 13. So right after Prop 13.
Man,
they sold it because it would have killed them.
Yeah.
So they got their money. Don't
I find it interesting that the whole house buying thing is all of a sudden a thing for Gen Z. And it's like, wait a second, there are 2 other generations beforehand that totally got screwed as well. But now it's just a Gen Z thing.
They're going to come up. I mean, I heard they're going to come up with 50-year mortgages pretty soon.
Yeah. Sure. Well, the whole idea of the mortgage is, don't get me started. That's a topic for another day. The first 10 years of it, you're just paying interest and you have like no equity in your house whatsoever. It's just a grift.
That's the concept of paying on time anyway.
Yeah, I know. So let's get into page 86. On the bottom, we're going to start where it says secular crisis, because this is where where we are, and they were predicting it. They knew it was coming because it's 1990. Yep. They knew it was still 30 years away, but they knew it was coming. So this is what they wrote about secular crisis. You guys can follow me starting on the bottom of page 86. An important coincidence lies at the heart of American history, a coincidence familiar to most historians. The time span separating the 4 pivotal events of American history almost exactly match. 85 years passed between the first Confederate shot on Fort Sumter and Pearl Harbor Day. Back up the story and note that 85 years also passed between Fort Sumter and the Declaration of Independence. Or, as President Lincoln noted, 77 years separate the first 4th of July from the Battle of Gettysburg. Back up still further and note that another 87 years passed between the Anglo-American Glorious Revolution of 1689 and Independence Day. Preceding the Glorious Revolution by a slightly longer period, 99 years, was the epical victory of the English Navy over the Spanish Armada. All 5 events marked the culmination of swift and sweeping change in the secular world. Each surrounding era witnessed widespread fear for personal and social survival, collective unity in the face of peril, and sudden institutional change or innovation. Apprehension about the future reached a climax and was followed, in all but the 4th case, by a sense of victory and the dawning of a bright new era. Hey, Grendelson, do you know what's exactly 85 years after Pearl Harbor, 1941? Do you know what year?
Oh, let me think about that. I'm pretty sure that's 2026.
It's 2026.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit. I'm reading this, like I'm just unfold, and I'm reading it, and I start to do the math, and I'm like,
oh yeah, it's fucking crazy, right? Pardon me. It's crazy. It's crazy because I also, and if you know anything about history, you look at these the crises, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Oh my God. Are you serious? Wait, Revolution, Civil War, World War II.
Crisis of 2020. Yep. So let's go on.
A little freaked out.
Yeah, let's keep going. I'm gonna freak you out some more. All right.
Freaked out. You're not paying attention.
And I get so mad that people act like Strauss and Howe is like some wacky theory. And I'm like, come on. Like,
have you read the books?
Have you read their books?
Yeah, we know Pew Research is trying to screw everybody over with what their years are. But
I know.
I'm not disseminating disinformation.
Yeah. I'm in constant battles in my comment section over people being like, Gen X is 1965 to 1980. Like they come up on my channel, which is my whole channel is about Generation X and what's the definition and what, and people like to roll up on me and be like, you should read a book because Generation X is 1965 to 1980. And I'm like,
you should read a book.
You should read a book.
The original freaking years.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I cannot find page 90 in this. It flips from, it gives me the crisis, and it doesn't give me page 90. But I want to read a little bit of page 90. There's 88.
Well, page 89 is the chart.
Right, but I wanted to get on to.
Says in each of these periods of secular crisis.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get to page 90 where it says the constellation pattern is unmistakable. In every secular crisis, except the Civil War, America had old idealists, midlife reactives, rising adult civics, and child adaptives, which is where we are now.
Right.
If millennials are civics, which they might not be. We might be skipping like the Civil War. And so that's why we're going to go into the Civil War anomaly. Yeah. All right.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about the Civil War anomaly. Did Strauss and Howe ever adopt the term Generation X? They still call us 13ers. But I mean, they do. I mean, I know that they will say Gen X, but they do for their whole thing call us 13ers.
Even I can't even remember. Even in the fourth turning, right?
I think, yeah, even in the fourth turning. Wow. All right, the Civil War anomaly. I'm going to start on the bottom of page 90 and move up to go through most of page 91 because I really want to get into the Civil War anomaly. We have already observed that the Civil War cycle lacks a civic type generation. At 64 years, this cycle is fully 17 years shorter than any other. A mere 28 years separate the end of the Civil War crisis from the end of the preceding awakening. So what happened? All right, now we're on the top of page 91. First, the crisis came early. The initial year of the crisis came 51 years after the middle birth cohort of the transcendental idealist generation. The other crisis periods began 67, 62, and 61 years after the middle idealist birth year. This 10 to 15 year difference, the equivalent roughly of a half of a phase of life, is quite significant. Consider the 1920s when Franklin Roosevelt's midlife missionary generation was still crusading for its great prohibition experiment, and the rising adult lost had yet to emerge from alienation and pleasure seeking. Suppose a combination of depression and global fascism had hit then. Very likely the national mood would have been more fragmented, public action less decisive. So that's one thing. Like, our national mood right now is very fragmented, which we've never really had, in my opinion, but I don't know, since the Civil War. No. I think the Civil War is the best time to compare because of the fragmentation. But
yeah, and the interestingly enough, the dividing line between the two factions is virtually the same. It's your conservatives versus your liberals. And
right.
Civil War, though.
Yeah.
It was all, the Republicans were the liberals and the Democrats were the
yeah.
Because you have to remember that, it was post-Civil War that the parties actually changed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no. The Republicans were created as the anti-slavery party.
Right.
And there, there were some, I don't know, changes, but the different parties emerged at the time. The things, it shifts what you think your country is founded on, and what are the ideals and morals that you want your country to be. And then sovereignty outside, like, we have a different thing now, because now we have this global community as opposed to just our own community of our own country. And so how do you, we've made our economy a global economy where we rely on other countries and other cultures for our way of life. And so how do you make decisions, and how do you build your ideals for your own space, or does that make any sense? I'm trying to say, as opposed to everybody else. I don't know how you reconcile all of that.
It's kind of like the it's really akin to the states versus federal rights.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and we're still seeing that to a lesser degree, I think now, because I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for states to actually secede from the union.
Right.
But,
or for the United States to secede from the global community.
Right. But that's really what a lot of the Civil War, part of them just didn't appreciate. They were being abused.
Right.
One half felt they were being abused. The other half didn't, wanted to impose their morals on the other half, and got what we got. And in a lot of the way, we're still fighting the same war almost.
Right. In a lot of ways, we are.
Yeah. We were definitely a looser union of states before the Civil War. And also don't forget, you had a lot of new states right after the Civil War. You had all those states coming in after what was it, the 1840s.
Yeah, our country doubled after the Civil War when it came to states and statehood and all of that. And the other thing is that post-Civil War and into the early 20th century, we went from being a nation of states where, like, our Senate was senators that were elected by our state legislatures, and we switched over to being more of a kind of, in theory, direct democracy, where the people voted for the senators, the people voted for the representatives, and the state representation, that nation of states, dissipated. And does that make sense? Because before the 17th Amendment, we were a nation of states, with states at the federal government, not necessarily the people, if that makes any sense.
And also we had to be more of a nation of states, because the industrialization and the telegraph also connected the states in a way that hadn't been seen prior to that as well.
Right.
So
right.
You had to. I mean, it was the Industrial Revolution got kickstarted.
Yeah.
And really started taking over how the government was being run.
Right.
Because industrialized corporations started to have a larger and larger sway over government.
Definitely. Corporations had a larger sway, but then in the early 20th century, the federal government ballooned. I mean, under FDR, and became a much more
that was in the 20s.
Yeah. That's in the 20s and the 30s. All of those amendments that came through, creating the Federal Reserve, direct election of senators, the creation of the Social Security, and all of the what you would consider the what are they called? It's not welfare, but it's there's a word for it that they call Social Security and Medicare. Entitlement programs.
Entitlements, yeah.
Yeah. Brought on federal entitlements and welfare, and ballooned the state. So we got the rise of the corporation and the ballooning of the state between 1870 and 1940. So between the Civil War and the World War II, we got the basis of what kind of like the groundwork for what we built into now. So it's just crazy. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Social safety net. That's a good one too. Yeah.
How do I highlight I like that Kitaya 80 comment.
Say what?
Kitaya 80 has a great comment. Yeah, there we go. Does Industrial Revolution have any connection to the fourth turning, though? Like, are they parallel running? I don't think it matters really for the turnings. Well, I think the Industrial Revolution I think it's kind of parallel to the technological revolution, at least the miniaturization of technologically. So I do think that they are somewhat parallel, but the Industrial Revolution, we're really talking about a period that's post-Civil War.
It was the first turning. The Industrial Revolution would be a first turning.
Yeah, so we're already at the fourth turning. So
right, yeah.
There might even be another. There might be another technological revolution that's going to come after this.
Right.
I don't know how. I think we're probably in it though.
Yeah, and we'll get into this kind of a thing in the book, The Fourth Turning. They kind of go into they get into this kind of a thing of what corresponds to what turning, and
well, make sure you like and subscribe. So
yes,
we're gonna get to the fourth turning.
We are.
Millennial Rising.
What was that? Say that again.
I said, can we skip Millennials Rising?
Oh, we're skipping Millennials Rising. The four books that we're reading this year are Generations, the 13th Gen, the Fourth Turning, and the Fourth Turning is here. Those are what I got on.
Is AI the fourth? I mean,
yeah.
Right now, AI is just much ado about nothing as far as.
Ooh.
It's a buzzword. I go back and forth. I really go back and forth on it. Depends on who I talk to this week. Last weekend, I talked to some really smart people I trust a lot, and they're not really worried about AI as it exists right now. And if they're not worried, I'm not particularly worried. But
I think you're gonna
mind next week when I talk to some other people.
I was gonna say, I think the world 5 years from now is gonna look nothing like it does now because of AI. I think it's gonna change the way we work, the way we live, the way we do everything. And I don't. Yeah.
I think it already has.
It has, and I think it's gonna accelerate and accelerate and accelerate. I don't know. It's just gonna be a new tool in. Hopefully a new tool and not a new overlord.
I'm looking forward to the day when I have my own R2D2 and C3PO. So I always wanted one of those. Listen, I grew up a science fiction geek, so I've been waiting for the transporter from Star Trek. We got communicators. We got iPads. We're working on it. We got the internet. Where's my hover car?
Where's my flying car? My hoverboards. But it's I don't know, just like with any technology, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. And just I'm sure they were having the same conversations when the printing press was introduced.
Oh, I know they were.
When the newspaper, the radio, the television. Yeah.
Why do you think we have the First Amendment?
The First Amendment. Here's the thing about AI.
About that, The
thing about AI that really freaks me out, though, is especially older people, they cannot discern between reality and what's fake. It's becoming so hard to tell what's real and what's not. So you can make it look like people are saying things that they would never say or doing things that they would never do. And so moving forward, especially in a world of information and news, how do you know what's real and what's not? That's my fear.
Yeah. And that's absolutely legit. But
yeah.
Thankfully, it's still pretty shitty.
Yeah. All right.
I hate that. Have you seen those videos where they take the cast of the old TV show and they show how they looked on the old TV show, and then they show them, today. AI generated today, and half of them are dead, so they have angel wings.
Yes.
Oh my God! Every time I see one of those, I just die a little inside.
Yes.
Just this is not how AI should be. Okay?
Yeah. And that's one reason why I do my channel the way I do my channel. There will never be a moment of AI on my channel. I want to save and make a library of real art and media. But anyway.
Listen, if you want to animate something and they give you tools that you can animate something that you write a script to, I don't have a problem with using tools to create something that you've created. I do sketches. I write sketches sometimes, and sometimes it's you want to see how it's going to perform. I could see that, but when it's just purely written by AI, it sucks.
Yeah. I just feel like it's another way of just taking the humanity out of something. It's like we've just taken the humanity out of everything, the soul of everything. It's just. I just hate that. I don't know. It's just weird. It's a weird time to be alive. We are in a really weird time.
Ruffian says Gen X will be the new silent generation. Yeah, we already are.
Oh, yeah. Wait, here.
We are exactly the silent generation, because the silent generation was.
Yeah, that's our analogous, one of our analogous generations. There's some crazy later on in this book, when it talks about us specifically, about what they expect for our generation moving forward in chapter 12 and 13, it's going to make you all dial inside a little bit. I'll give you a little preview. This was their prediction for our generation in the 90s. 13ers will advance into rising adulthood, engaged in an alienated culture, an emphasis on getting what you can without excuses in a world that, as they see it, never cared about giving them much. Mm-hmm. In post 9/11, early 2000s, the boomer and 13 cultures will by then be moving into self-contained camps, loud, moralizing aggressors on the older side, and atomized, pleasure-seeking victims to the younger. A vindictive age polarization that America hasn't witnessed since the Roaring 20s.
Now that part I don't know about, because I feel like we would have to give a shit too much.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Know? And we don't.
There's one line that just like made me cry. I gotta find it
right now. Well, I mean, I don't know. Boomers don't seem to be too lost. They seem to be.
Here we go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. I mean, I think most of the boomers seem to be. I don't know, getting ready for the end.
Yeah, and hoarding all their money as they go. Yeah, later on in the book, it will say, this is about Generation X, economic threats loom heavy on the 13er horizon. If the economy weakens, 13ers will feel stranded as a generation, sensing little of the elder goodwill GIs enjoyed through the Depression, nor the public exultation of youth that bullied boomers through the stagflated 1970s. To their regret, 13ers will find themselves paying a price for the generational criticism they endured throughout the 1980s. That's one of the lines in the book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're paying the price for being told we suck. Yeah, we know. Yeah. Thank you.
We got it.
We understand.
All right.
Completely.
The Civil War anomaly. So they said it happened because the crisis came early. The three adult generations allowed their more dangerous peer instincts to prevail. I like this.
I love that one.
The three adult generations allowed their more dangerous peer instincts to prevail. Yeah. Following the failed efforts of Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, and John Calhoun to avert war, the elderly compromisers of the Buchanan era were unable to rise above empty process and moral confusion. The transcendental generation split not just into two competing factions, but into two self-contained, mutually exclusive societies.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's where we are. Am I wrong?
I'm, it is true. It is true. And it's sad because there's really, really no reason for it. Because,
no.
There's a lot of room for compromise. There's a lot of room for, getting stuff done without the extremists on either end.
Right. I agree.
And so, right now what we have is we have the extremists from one end in power.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, that is causing a lot.
Yeah, but that person was also elected by the majority of the country. So, I mean, it's just weird how
the majority of the country is not extremism, and the election was so close.
Yeah, it was close. Yes, but I mean, it's just I yeah.
Most of societies. We Fillmore Midwest says we are citizens of mutual exclusive societies.
I think that's fair.
I do think that's fair too. I don't know about dozens. Maybe,
right.
Maybe
here's what I think is maybe a part of the or a base of the issue is that we fundamentally disagree, it seems. The two major political sides about what America is,
Mm.
and should we be proud of it, or should we be like, we need, like, should we build on it and be okay with what our history is and build forward, or should we be mad about it and burn it all down and start over? That seems, but maybe that's too extreme of a, or too elementary.
I don't know. I don't know.
We cannot decide on what America is and what we want to fight for, what we want to build on.
I agree that the two sides cannot decide on what America is, but I would say the two sides cannot agree on what America should be.
Yeah, there you go.
And that, I think, is the real, because I don't think either side wants to burn anything down.
Yeah.
We all want to build.
Okay.
Upon whatever it is that we have. No one wants to destroy the government and start over.
See, that is a bit of a messaging that I am not seeing. I'll give you from my point of, because we all see different media. We're all on our own different algorithms, right? Okay. So what I'm seeing about the left, what they would like, it seems as though that they believe that America's history is very shameful, and they want it to be changed, and they want to change a lot of things about. I've seen college students say that we should scrap the Constitution and start over, or we should, like that kind of a thing. And so and that's the kind of stuff that I see from that side. But if that's not the view of that side, then that's something that I'm not seeing.
I definitely identify as liberal, so I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
But I can say I don't believe that we should be tearing anything down. I believe in the Constitution. I was a constitutional scholar in high school.
Oh, nice.
I actually, not my own horn, but when I was a senior in high school, they did the We the People competition. It was the first year they did it. And it's still going on today. And it's a huge thing in DC every year.
Didn't they start that around the anniversary of the Constitution, like 87?
They started it.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And so we were in the first competition, and my high school won, and I was on the team.
Nice. Well done.
My name has actually been read in the congressional record.
That's amazing.
I looked it up one day. So I have I have a love and appreciation for the Constitution that goes beyond politics.
Same here.
So
I carry one around my pocket.
Parties, the Constitution is a sacred document.
Yes.
And needs to be upheld with. And I truly believe that this country, the people in charge, will uphold the Constitution.
I do too.
No matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm not as worried, because the Constitution has built-in things that, will.
I agree with you.
Will save us. But beside the point, I don't want to tear down I am also not ashamed of our history as a country.
Okay.
There are things in the country, in our history, that obviously would change if I had the ability to, but I'm not ashamed that they happened. Everything that happens in our country happened to shape where we are today.
Amen.
If you're ashamed of something, and same thing with your past. If you're ashamed about something in your past, it has educated you as to what you're doing in the future.
Right.
So if you're ashamed of something in the past, you're not going to do that again.
Right.
That's the kind of the idea. So, and I don't agree with, if you're, and I think you need to be educated on the past too. That's the other thing.
That's another thing.
They're saying shit about the Constitution that they've never even read it. They don't know what it says.
I know.
They don't know the, knockdown, drag out fist fights that happened amongst the founding fathers when they were writing it.
It was the second draft. We had the Articles of Confederation first, and that didn't work.
Yeah, and oh yeah, by the way, we tried this once before.
Right. So okay, that's interesting. And in full disclosure, you mentioned that you come from the liberal side. I come from a conservative side, so I like this conversation because
Yeah, we can be respectful. I mean, I respect everybody's point of view.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if a hill of beans who we voted for because our states are going to decide anyway.
Exactly. That's the other thing.
Do you think we're ever going to vote for a Republican again?
I don't know. Your governor race looks kind of interesting, to be honest. It looks like you're only going to get to choose between 2 Republicans. But that's a conversation for another day. All right, let's keep going.
I can truly say I was not even in the country the last time the California elected. I was on my honeymoon.
Oh, really? All right.
That was when Schwarzenegger was elected.
Arnold. So the Civil War anomaly came because the crisis came early. The 3 adult generations allowed their more dangerous peer instincts to prevail. And third, the crisis came to an untriumphant end. And I wonder what kind of an end our current crisis is. Is it going to be triumphant into another glorious first turning, or is it going to be an untriumphant end? I wonder, to all of this.
So of those 3 things, did this crisis start early? It might have. I mean, if we're saying it started around 2008, I see that's definitely early.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near 85 years after
World
War II.
And you could argue that things started rumbling even earlier between the 9/11, all that stuff.
9/11 is the absolute start of it.
Really. Yeah. So you could argue that it came early.
After 9/11. I mean, 9/11 to me is also my theory is also generations are formed from individual instances.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For example, World War II. That's the easiest one. But then, my theory is if you can remember Kennedy alive, JFK, you're a boomer.
Yes.
If you can't, you're Gen X.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter when you were born. If you can remember he was alive,
right,
then you're a boomer. If you can't, and you live in a world where you never knew JFK, you're a Gen X.
Right. I think that's a great way to look at it.
I think the same goes with Reagan, I think is the difference between millennials and Gen X. And I think I definitely think that 9/11 is the difference between millennials and
Gen Z. Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're right on there. And
they're all 20 years apart. Just about.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, and crazy how it all fits into the generational theory. So I think,
with the exception of boomers, because boomers got almost 20 straight years from 1945 to 1960, whatever.
Right.
Gen X gets 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
according to Pew. But if you go into Strauss and Howe, they actually start boomers in the middle of the war, because the babies
I don't quite grasp, because I think the real thing is guys, but I guess guys did start coming back from the war as early as early 44.
There were so few babies born during that 5-year period that I would argue that they got the childhood of a baby boomer. They were just a little bit older, but they got the, so like they weren't in the Depression. They weren't in the, so that these cuts are hard.
Too, that they're a statistical anomaly. Really.
Right. So it would be better to push them into the baby boomers instead of into some,
also
Depression era.
Because we didn't have there wasn't a baby boom at the end of the Civil War because most of the young men were dead. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, we got a super chat from Crouching Taylor and Cliff. Whoop, $5. If JFK lives and the elements responsible are rooted out, we would still be in the Forbidden Planet timeline where the 50s more or less never end. Wow. Have you seen the show Fallout?
I have not.
Fallout basically took that premise and ran with it.
Really?
Yeah, the 50s never ended in Fallout until 21 something when the whole world ends.
Oh.
And so, but they flash back to the pre-bomb era, and it's like 2120, and it still looks like 1950s.
And it still looks like the 1950s. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't play the game at all, but
I'm not a gamer either.
And it's I have issues with it. But that's what the 50s look like.
Yeah. And this is a good point though, like bringing up if something like if JFK does survive, and how that one thing would totally change the course of American history in ways that we can't even fathom.
That's a whole genre of
yeah.
It's called alt history.
Yeah, which I love. Which I love. But like, and also if something like that would have happened at a different point in history, with different generations at different times in their lives, how that would have come out. Because to me, the JFK assassination was a result of older generations trying to hold on to the order that they just created, this post World War II order, and he was not he was a threat. He was a threat to that. And so,
not to get on a tangent, but God, I really wonder if we're ever going to get an answer.
Oh, I know, right? I mean,
we found out who Deep Throat was, so you never
But, and then the whole posting that happened after. I mean, don't get me started into my conspiracy.
No, I don't want to go
about that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and skip past the spiritual awakening section of this chapter because we are not in a spiritual awakening.
We don't need to go back to the 60s either. I'm going to time out for a minute. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yeah, we can take a break and then we can get in. I'm going to go ahead and finish up here on chapter 5 while you're taking a break. Page 96. Oops. Why doesn't it give me my post pages? All right, page 96. Let's see. I'll just read it. The lineup of elder doers and rising adult thinkers. Oh yeah, let me bring up page 95 while I'm reading this. Okay. So we are currently over here. Let me take the comments down. We are in the current millennial cycle. So if you'll see in the bottom, it says cycle. We are in the current one, which is the millennial cycle on the very far right. Let me get my, can't see my pointer, my mouse. Anyways, okay. So on the right, we have the millennial cycle. And so we had the boom awakening from 1967 to 1980. And that was when the GI generation were the elders, the silent were in midlife, the boomers were rising adults, and we Gen X were in our youth. So that was during the spiritual awakening. So that's all I'll say about that. This lineup of elder doers and rising adult thinkers, very different from the crisis constellation, rarely does well at large public undertakings. The trained order takers are old, while the instinctive order givers are young. Any collective effort, such as a major war, faces strong social obstacles. On the other hand, the constellation can generate great spiritual energy and unusual creativity in religion, letters, and the arts. During each awakening era, this is our childhood that I'm talking about right now. During each awakening era, we witness mounting frustration with public institutions, fragmenting families and communities, rising alcohol and drug abuse, and a growing tendency to take risks in most spheres of life. Sex role distinctions decline, and the protection accorded children reaches a low ebb. Afterward, maturing idealists retain the inner convictions born of their awakening experience, and after a period of political dormancy, attempt to project and enforce their principles on the world around them. Where post-crisis, adult civics exude confident optimism and rationality as they move into midlife, post-awakening idealists steer the national mood toward pessimistic and portentous spiritualism. To comprehend the generational cycle is to foresee where the cycle will turn as the future unfolds. It is to anticipate who the next great champion will be and when his next hour of darkness and adversity and peril will arrive. Long, long may it be ere he comes again, wrote Hawthorne. One purpose of this book is to help the reader foresee how long and understand why. Alrighty.
Yeah, and yet we still don't really grasp why.
No.
Well, it's right in front of us. Like,
yeah.
There's still so many people that are just like, I don't get it. Why is it? happening. You know.
All right.
Happened before. So
Yeah.
people. I love this. Oh my god, this first paragraph of chapter 6, just like
I know. I had it marked to read. So, do you want to read it, or would you like me to read it?
I'll read it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, give me the first paragraph. It's good stuff.
I've taken voiceover classes.
Now we are starting chapter 6, From Puritans to Millennials and Beyond. This is page 97. Go for it, Grendelson.
The year 1968 was not exactly the year of the baby, but amid the assassinations, riots, student strikes, Vietnam buildup, and the rise of Richard Nixon, one of the highest grossing movies of the year featured a baby, Rosemary's Baby. Watching Daddy sell a soon-to-be-born child to a witch's coven, many in the audience had to be thinking, please don't have this baby, abort it! Over the next 10 years, child demons proliferated across American movie screens. The Exorcist, The Exorcist 2, Damien, Omen. That's wrong. It's Omen, Omen 2, Damien, and then Omen 3. But they got
Yep, that is. I noticed that too.
It's alive. It lives again. Demon Seed. Even when the film children of the 1970s were not slashing and hexing parents, they were pictured as hucksters. Paper Moon. Prostitutes. Taxi Driver. Malls and racketeers, Bugsy Malone. Okay, that doesn't belong. Arsonists, Carrie. That doesn't belong. Spoiled brats, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Okay. And abandoned articles, Kramer versus Kramer. Oh, don't get me started. Never in the age of cinema has producers and audiences obsessed over such a thoroughly distressing image of childhood. Compare this with the children featured in the Disney Shaggy Dog films of the 1950s. Bright, well-meaning kids who adults respected. Kids any film goer knew would grow up to be interesting people. Or compare those 1970s era child images with the cuddly baby antidotes that began appearing in the mid-80s. Raising Arizona, 3 Men and a Baby, Baby Boom, and Parenthood, all featuring tots audiences felt like bundling in their arms and protecting.
So, how do you think this affected our generation, having this kind of view of childhood while we were the children?
I mean, I think it was the unintended consequences of new 70s, of 70s new American cinema.
The 70s me generation of the boomers. Me. I don't want to deal with kids.
You know.
Yeah, you did forget Look Who's Talking. That should have been there with Raising Arizona.
Actually, I think Look Who's Talking.
Yeah, they totally missed it.
Yeah, no, it was late 80s, wasn't it?
So I love this word. So our society has no word for this, but the Germans do. It's called Kinderfeindlichkeit.
The Germans have all the best words.
They have all the words. Kinderfeindlichkeit. Kinderfeindlichkeit. A society-wide hostility towards children. Gen X.
Welcome to the cinema. Yeah.
Right. Now here's the funny part. Look over to channel page 98. I almost said channel.
Yeah.
Has Kinderfeindlichkeit has this ever happened before in America? Yes. Several times. Though not in precisely the same ways, of course. These other bad child eras came before movies, before birth control pills, and weekly U.S. Treasury auctions. But earlier generations of adults had ample ways of declaring a child generation unwanted. In the 1640s, Cavalier children were routinely kidnapped off the streets of London and sold in the Chesapeake colonies as quasi-slaves. In the 1730s, most American colonists left Liberty kids to their own wildness and generally agreed with Jonathan Edwards that they were infinitely worse than young vipers. During the age of Jackson, gilded youth were commonly regarded as self-seeking and savage and were packed off to America's first reform schools. In circa 1900 America, lost children struggled to make their own way as street-hawking vagabonds, while elders expressed horror over their juvenile delinquency. All of these were, like the 13th, reactive generations. In each case, adults considered the children who came before, idealists, smarter and more worthy of freedom, and those who came after, civics or millennials, better behaved and more worthy of protection. That blew my mind.
I know, it's classic, right? It's like, well, and see, and here's the perfect thing. Now boomers can say, well, we're just perpetuating the cycle.
Yeah, we're just like everybody else.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
it is. You guys get screwed because every generation that has come after a reactive generation, every other one has been screwed too. So you get screwed as well.
Yeah,
because we're idealists and you're not.
So too bad for you.
So, even though you're our children, we don't care.
Right. So I wanted to say, as we go, because the next section of the book, we are going to go back through history of the 18 generations in American history, and it's going to feel maybe a little heavy and a little just kind of. This is where we get into like the history of it, and you're going to get a lot of details and a lot of information thrown your way. But while you're reading all of these different generations, I want you to know who is our analogous generation. So let me get to this real fast. Page 1. I'm going to skip to page 110 really quick. In looking for analogs. Yeah. So as we go through the generations, I want you to know who the generations are that are like Gen X and other points in history. So if you see over here on figure 6.5, let me make it bigger. In the very middle of this chart in figure 6.5, it says reactive. So as we go through all of these different cycles, the colonial cycle, the revolutionary cycle, the Civil War, the Great Power, the generations that are like Generation X are the reactive generations. So the Cavalier, the Liberty, the Gilded, and the Lost. Those are the ones that you're going to want to be really looking at least, in my opinion, as we go through this history of our country, the other generations that are in our same position. Like Gen X. I think that would be where am I pulling this from? This is from the Internet Archive. I'll even send you a link if you guys want the link. It's all free. So so I think that for me, that was what I want to look for as we go through these next few chapters are the generations that are our analogous generations like us. Would you agree with that? Oh, I lost him. He'll be back soon, I'm sure. Let me put in the link into the chat. There's where I'm at right now in the Internet Archive. So as we're going through all of the history over the next few chapters, keep that in mind as we're going through each cycle, which generation is basically the historical analogous generation of Gen X. You're very welcome. Yeah, all of the reactives. You like that? Everything I do is just my so-called this or that, my so-called book club, my so-called live stream, my so-called Gen X live channel. Oh, there he is. He's back. There you are.
Sorry.
That's okay. No worries.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was saying that as we go through these next cycles of history to be on the lookout for the generation that is our analogous generation in each cycle. Would you agree that that's a good way to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you'll see so many parallels.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I mean, the stuff that's coming up is definitely meaty but it's going to change the way you view everything.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but it really does. And it because it makes you think first of all, it makes you think, okay, this is just kind of the way things are. But if you're aware, you can try to make changes in a positive manner so that,
Yeah.
if you're seeing something with different eyes, you can
Mhm.
try to make a difference.
Right. And it just gives you an idea of kind of how you fit into the grand scheme of things, how our generation fits into the grand scheme of things, and what our options are as far as what we can do in this crisis, in this fourth turning, and how, where we can be the best versions of ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, because like, really, what is our role in this particular turning? And that's what we need to find out as well. And so,
Right. And that's kind
going
of
back and looking at what the other older generations that have had our reactive type how they have responded to their individual crises, I
right.
think is really going to tell us what to kind of expect in this chaotic time.
Right.
Although it's going to be, again, it's going to be difficult because we still don't really, we're in the crisis, but we can't even define what the crisis is.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I mean, ultimately, that's, I think, what once we figure out what this crisis actually is and it gets resolved, then I think we'll have a much better idea of what we're going, of how to go.
Right. Right. This is one of those things that you have to be aware of as you're in it, but you're not going to be able to really analyze or learn or glean things from until it's over. It's like, it's going to be hard to kind of figure out what you are while you're in it.
And honestly, this particular momentary crisis, it could literally end any moment.
Yeah.
It really could. It could end in some unforeseen event happens that dramatically changes everything. Whether it's another pandemic, whether it's a high-level political assassination, whether it's a natural event. Could be a natural event. You never know.
Yep.
It could be, with the weather changing, what happens if there's like a massive flood?
Right.
Dude, I just read that Florida had more snow this winter than Utah.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Right? That's weird. So,
that is weird.
It could be over in a moment, but it might linger on, another 2 to 3 years until we finally put it beside us. And, because whatever this downturn, the economic downturn, can't possibly go much worse.
Well, I think we're, if you're going to touch on economics, I mean, we're at our whole economic system is about to change. What we've lived on the last 80 years, the Bretton Woods dollar system of the world dollar being the world reserve currency, that's all going to change. And I think we're going to a digital dollar, which makes me terrified. But like, there's so many problems that we're facing, or changes that we're facing now, that were just incomprehensible when this book was being written. Even like,
they didn't even foresee the World Wide Web yet. So.
Right? Yeah, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that I've been sending messages to. I've been tweeting at Neil Howe a lot the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to get him to respond to me because I want to get there. I want to get his take. I want to get his take on how the internet has, because I mean, literally the internet hit like 2 weeks after this book was published. So like, that was the other thing I wrote down. God,
yeah. I mean,
what did I write down? Oh, this book was written this is literally what I wrote down while I was reading chapter 6. This book was written at such a unique time in 1990. The Berlin Wall had just come down. The Soviet Union was on the brink of collapse. Bush was in office. Clinton had not been elected. There was no globalism, or very little globalism, no NAFTA.
Desert Storm hadn't started.
Hadn't really started. There was no internet and no Telecom Act of 1996. So, like, the world literally changed into ways that they could have perceived literally in the following year after this book was published. The world literally just completely did a 180. And so I would love to talk to Neil Howe about that.
Absolutely.
Because it's just so random that was
Neil Howe.
yeah. And China changes things as well. Definitely. All right. Let's see.
That's where we sent all of our industrial. Yeah. What's that stuff called?
We sent everything that built up the middle class in the Midwest of this country and sent it over to China. we had in my small town when I was growing up, we had about 8,000 to 10,000 people, and there was 4 factories in this town. There was a shoe factory, there was a garment factory, and there was a playground factory, and one other. They're all closed now, all of them, and that's just my one little town. And I cannot
by thousands, little town across the nation.
Yeah, and how that changed everything. I mean, it changed it. That was the vehicle to wealth building. Was a job in an area that paid a decent wage and a cost of living was low, and you
could work for a place for 40 years and get a pension.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that really gets missed out of this conversation about jobs and globalism and manufacturing and stuff, and how that all changed, was how that literally sucked the soul out of places, and the ability for Americans to, like I said, build wealth, build a family, build a life. That was the basis of the so-called American dream, was the ability to get a good job for 30 or 40 years, have a pension, some stability, and also building things for your country and your community. I mean,
the building of infrastructure, the lack of building of infrastructure in this country, I think has really given us a big black eye. And that, I think, is the one way that could solve a lot of problems. But the issue is that when you build infrastructure, you have to almost do it at a government level. And our government is not willing to put the money into building infrastructure because it's not going to be popular, because it's not going to make people money.
It's just really difficult. It's really difficult in a country our size, and that's when you get into the whole idea of the nation of states.
But
it's so hard to govern as many miles as we have in this country, as many square miles, as many people, as many resources in different areas. Like, how do you manage all that?
But if there was like a countrywide, like, let's say, futurist movement where we actually decided as a people to, build those, bullet trains that are going to go from, coast to coast in 2 hours, or to create more efficient ports, create more efficient systems. I mean, really, that's the key. Is where an AI can help is getting through all of the red tape and creating more efficient systems.
Right.
And that would like a brand new deal.
Like a new deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, realistically, the New Deal was probably the best thing that could ever happen in this country.
Oh, see, I disagree 100%. I hate government spending and government involved in anything.
But it built up all of what we've got,
Well, I would take away.
It wouldn't have. The Depression would not have ended any other way.
World War II ended the Depression. The defense spending and the military spending, that would, and the investment in that. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff in there, but having all that money at the federal level to put out among all 50 states is what causes all the corruption, because you put all this money in a kitty in one spot in Washington, D.C. And you get one group of people deciding what we're going to do for all these 50 states. That's why I like it more localized. I would like little new deals for each state instead of one at the federal level.
I mean, there's certainly something to be said for that, but I mean, but you can't. Unfortunately, you can't trust the states to do. You can only trust the states to do what's best for the state themselves. And
but shouldn't that be how it is?
I mean, that's the federalism versus states'
rights. Yep.
I mean, there isn't a right answer. I'm just saying, this is a hypothetical. I'm just like, if we all could agree to do this,
right,
it would be an amazing thing. Obviously, it's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen.
Right.
It's not will there be infrastructure built? Yes, there will. There will be infrastructure built. Some states are going to take the lead. Not my state, because we can't fucking pave our streets. But there are states that are going to take the lead, and there's states that are not. But the states that are going to be ahead of the game are the ones that are going to take the lead, especially the interstate commerce, which is where there needs to be a lot more efficiency.
Right. I just like stuff. I wish we would take a more grassroots, local, state approach instead of a top-down Washington everybody approach, because I think different states have different resources, have different types of people, have different needs, but with a unifying ideal at the national level, that we have unifying goals, but we all kind of get to go about them on our own way.
Listen, I'm not a big fan of big government either.
Yeah.
I identify as liberal, but there's a lot of things I'm very libertarian on, and
that's kind of where I'm at too. And I'm
actually fiscally conservative, but I definitely believe in more social programs, and I do believe government should have a role in, building up the country and the people. But I do also agree that it shouldn't come at the expense of the freedom of the states.
Right. Right. And I would say that I think we have a lot of agreement here. Mm-hmm. I would say that the role of the state is more to create the best conditions economically for people in the private sector to be able to do things for themselves, instead of having so much government control over, if that makes any sense. Like, create the conditions for us to thrive instead of trying to direct money into certain things that you think, whatever, like create the conditions and let the people sort it out, kind of a thing in the market, instead of having it directed, because once you direct it from the one central place, then you got the possibility of corruption. It's going to go to my friends, it's going to go to my favorite places or wherever, so that's kind of where I'm at, is that you have your overarching morals and ideals for your country. Mm-hmm. That's directed by the federal government, and their job is to create the best conditions for its people to thrive, instead of trying to direct it and make it happen by this program or that program. I think the Americans are very generous people. We're a very caring people. We're very big into charity and helping those that are less fortunate. And I don't think it has to be totally directed by the government, because once you do that, then people kind of check out and be like, well, the government's doing it, so I don't.
Nobody wants a government mandate. I mean, I don't think, I don't think that's the way to go.
Yeah. I think I'm surprising how much we're agreeing on things. I'm kind of excited about it, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show we're not that far off on, both sides aren't that far off. I think most general public members are just not really that far off. And when you get down to it, basically, I think we all really just want the same thing. We want to be left alone. We want to be able to make money. We want to be able to thrive. We want to, raise
build families.
We all kind of just want the same thing. We may disagree on, how, I personally believe that there's no reason why anyone in this country should not have access to health care. And I do think health care should be a socialized thing. I think
it's such a hard one. Yeah.
I think it would behoove us all to treat each other the way we want to be treated, and just, just
that's a very American thing to say. That's an American ideal, is to treat others the way you want to be treated. That's our culture. That's our culture.
The ideal is that if you want to be a doctor, you're going to make a decent living at being a doctor. You're going to help everybody. Okay. You're not going to be a millionaire. All right. If you want to be a millionaire, go into business, but healthcare should not be for profit. And I worked in the healthcare industry.
I think basic healthcare, I think you're right. Yeah.
I worked both sides of it. I worked I worked selling health insurance, and I worked for a health insurance and for a provider, for a recovery addict, for recovery providers. And, that whole system, the entire system is screwed up.
Yeah.
Should be, that is one system I feel like we should just tear it down, start from scratch.
I agree with you on that. I believe
that that's worldwide. It shouldn't just be America. Everybody in the entire world should have access to healthcare, drinking water, and food. That's it.
Yeah. That's a very 21st century thing to say. But
that's my core belief. We should have access to healthcare, water, and food. Okay. What you do with that?
Right.
Yeah.
But if we were sitting here 200 years ago in the middle of the Civil War, being able to have access to water and food and healthcare would have been a totally different conversation.
Absolutely.
So it's because,
they had those conversations.
Yeah.
They absolutely had those conversations.
Right.
And, and don't forget, up until what was it, 68, 69, whatever it was, healthcare wasn't for profit.
Right.
Yeah. We didn't have these same issues that we have now. They privatized healthcare, and this is
well, there's good things to the marketplace, because I think the free marketplace, as far as creating access to water and food, happened because of the market, not because of government intervention, but because people were creative and came up with solutions to water and food. And when it comes to healthcare, yes, I think basic healthcare, that makes sense to have, especially in a society as wealthy as ours, to have access to basic healthcare. Now, when you get into other things like the education and the time that it takes to be able to have the skill as a physician to be able to do certain things, to me, you should be compensated for that in some way. But that's a whole different conversation. Basic healthcare, just basic everyday healthcare, yes, it's a big deal. And I think, and I would agree with you that there should be some access. I don't know how you do it, but yes, I agree with you.
Eclectic Deb says, honestly, who in the U.S. doesn't have access?
That's true.
There's a lot of people who don't have access.
Really? You can't just walk into a hospital or emergency room or anything like that?
Go down there. There's a lot of people who can't.
I haven't had health insurance in almost 20 years, but I've been able to get healthcare when I need it. I just walk into an ER or walk in or making a make an appointment at a clinic and pay cash. So, I have access.
Yeah, but there are people who can't do that, who can't walk into an ER.
Really?
Sure. Yeah, down on Skid Row, there are anybody who's homeless doesn't have very much access to healthcare at all. Unless somebody comes around, and that's lucky.
Right.
I think if you think that everybody has access to healthcare, I think you need some.
I don't know. I feel like when it comes to access, I feel like I don't know how you get it more universal than what we already have it, because there's hospitals and clinics everywhere that you cannot. It's the law that they cannot refuse care to people that walk in that need something. So
that also doesn't mean that people are still going to do it.
No, that's true. This is a tough one, because I don't like to demand.
Yeah,
there is no right answer, because I don't like to demand the services. I don't want to put force in the services of another person.
Right.
So I don't think it's my right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Chris Thomas says, healthcare shouldn't bankrupt people.
It shouldn't. I agree with that. It should not bankrupt people. So there's just so many conversations to be had on this, and But yeah, the way that it was beforehand, where you would have a local town physician and you would trade with chickens and stuff like that, in the 19th century, there was even Dr. Ron Paul, who was a representative in the Congress for a long time, he was an OBGYN that worked in the 1950s and 1960s.
Sure.
And he talked about what the healthcare industry was like before they privatized it and added in Medicare and Medicaid and all that stuff. And how, and the health insurance companies really is the big evil in all of this, because once you get into third party payer and you escalate prices and all that stuff, this is a big conversation, but
we're way off.
Way off topic, but I think that we have a lot of agreement, and that yes, it should just be scrapped the way it is now, and we need to start over. And there's got to be somewhere in a country as wealthy as ours to have basic healthcare access.
Yeah, Obamacare, it doesn't work. The other ones don't work. Just
get rid of the insurance companies and just start start cash direct payments.
Get rid of insurance. Forget insurance. Such a strange thing in the first place.
It is.
It's so weird. You're hedging your bet.
Yeah, to me, it would make sense to have a cash payment system for basic services, but have have insurance for catastrophic, like insurance for really horrible things. That
Omar West says more generations talk, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I think we pretty much got through.
We've gotten through. Let's see. Let's go to page 102 real fast.
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. Is there any questions from anybody or a topic that we haven't touched?
It's interesting reading this book, now. I read it when it first came out, and I was a wee lad.
Yeah.
30 years later, I'm not a wee lad anymore, and
you were in rising adulthood, and now you are in midlife.
And now, but it resonates so much more.
Yeah. Thank you, Fillmore Midwest. So
yeah.
Okay.
What do the stories of America's bad child reactive generations, Cavaliers, Liberty, Gilded, and Lost, tell 13ers about what they can expect from a mistimed lifestyle? Your youth will be crap. And by the time you get to be elders, no one will listen to you.
Yeah. So that's what I want to. So moving forward, as we wrap this up, next week we are going to go through the colonial cycle in chapter 7. And I don't know if you guys would agree with me here. Now, once we get through these cycles, this is laying the foundation for they're proving their theory by going through all of these cycles and showing how they recognize the patterns. I don't want to get bogged down into this too much. I kind of want to just kind of skim through it. Would you agree with that, Grendelson? That'd be a better way to kind of just skim.
Yeah, 100%. There's no one real. I mean, listen. Do we really care about the people who came over from the Mayflower?
Right.
Go ahead and read it. It's interesting.
There's no need to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's something that you're like, wow, I really want to talk about this. This was really interesting.
Right.
Let's do it. But otherwise, I mean, we're talking about the generations that were they're so far removed from us.
They're so far, but it's interesting to see. But it's good to know where we've come from. It's good to know.
Right. So, and I definitely want to I want to focus on the stuff that the lost generation and the ones that are our type.
I agree. So
we can really pinpoint. Okay, this is how we're gonna.
Right. So with that in mind, I'm going to assign a lot of reading for this next week, but it's just informational knowledge reading. It's not discussion reading. I want to go through 7 and 8, the colonial cycle and the revolutionary cycle, just to have it as information, but we're not really going to dive into it. What we're going to dive in next week is the Civil War cycle. I want to dive into that because I think it's the anomaly that we could be experiencing now. And then we'll move on to the 20th century after we get through the Civil War cycle. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, I think we might want to try and do one cycle per week, though.
Well, I was, but I'm not gonna really. I'm not really.
Yeah, we can go through the two revolutionary.
Yeah, like again, it's not honestly. It's not something you really even have to read for the purposes of our discussion. It is, like I said, it is informational, foundational stuff that they build their theory on. So if you want to know more about the different generations in the colonial and the revolutionary cycle, maybe we can have that discussion for another day. But if you guys want to read through it, that's fine. If not, that's fine. Next week, I want to dive into the Civil War cycle. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this stuff is like really just like show your work.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And honestly, we don't even have to go through the Civil War cycle. We can just go ahead and skip right through.
No. I think the millennial cycle. I'm really interested in this anomaly.
Yeah, me too.
Aspect now, the more that I think about it, and I'm really interested to see if we're gonna skip one. If we do, which is it gonna be?
Right.
What are these Z's what are the Z's gonna be, and what are the alphas gonna be? I mean, the alphas are so goddamn young right now. You can't. And
they're the ones, and they're the ones in the post 2020 world. Like they're gonna know they know no world other than pandemic and all that. Like,
and then like Z's, I have a Z in my household. My kid is a Z.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have much of a cultural identity quite yet. They're getting there, but they're still very like the biggest thing you can say about Gen Zs is they don't want to have sex and they don't want to drive.
They don't want to have sex. They don't want to drive. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to read. They don't want to watch movies. They don't want to.
They don't want. Yeah. Okay. So I guess we can talk about
everything. Is screens, internet, app screens. That's their whole life.
They're gonna be the ones with the cyber goggles on.
Yeah. So this Kitana makes a great point. If you guys don't want to read through 7 and 8, you can do a Chat GPT summary, and we might just do that next week. I might go over like a quick Chat GPT summary, but we're not going to dive into this. We
should do dueling ones. You do Chat.
What?
We should do dueling AIs. You do one. You do one and one, and I'll do one and another.
I always use Grok, so I can do a Grok, and you can do another one. You can do Chat GPT. Okay. I'll do Grok. Sounds like a plan. All right. So I plan on you just joining me every week from here on out as we finish this book, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm
And if anybody else would like to get into the conversation, you can email me at genxnatalie@gmail.com, and we can talk about adding you in on the discussion in a future week. So next week, guys, chapter 9, the Civil War cycle. That's what we're going to be discussing, and then we'll go from there.
We should turn this into a podcast.
I can't hear what you're saying. You're whispering too low.
We should turn this into a podcast.
Turn into a podcast?
Left and right, talk about things and generations.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that, and we can talk more about that as we go along. I'm obsessed with Strauss and Howe. Like, I just find their theory just so fascinating. And the reason is because I read the Fourth Turning first, and I read the Fourth Turning in 2017.
Oh God.
I literally was like,
you were like,
I was like running around the house, like screaming, like
the world's coming to an end. And it was.
And I really can't wait to it. I cannot wait till we get to the Fourth Turning. For those of you guys that have not read the Fourth Turning, it was written in 1997, and it will just absolutely blow your mind in ways, because it will put this theory that we're learning about right now in generations. It will put this theory to the test, and holy God, did they nail it?
Rachel 413G wants to know
replays. Well, right now they're in the members only section, but after this, after we get done here, I will open them up publicly, and I'll put them in a playlist called Book Club Playlist. So just go to my channel. Give me like 30 minutes after we stop here for me to make it all public and put it on a book club playlist, and then just go to my channel to the playlist and you'll find it.
But you'll have to watch along with live comments because that's where I am.
You have to what?
I'll have to watch along with the live comments because that's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I took them down earlier. I was reading. I should have had them up there. No problem. They are in the YouTube channel. Okay, I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if I had taken them out of the members only section or not. But yeah, because I really want to get through this book by the end of March. Because I got to take a couple weeks off, and then we'll get into 13th Gen and 4th Turning. 13th Gen will be a really quick one. It's not near as intense as Generations, but I really want to get to the 4th Turning because you guys are absolutely gonna just lose it.
Well, it's also a bridging book too. It's like
it is.
It's not really.
It's not a book. I mean, it's a book, but it's not a book. It's very different. It's a very different kind of book. But it was their way of introducing Generation X to the world and what they thought of our generation and how they decided that's what we were. Like what, anyways, we'll get on
that. It will be interesting to revisit it because while my memory serves that a lot of it's fairly accurate, there's a good bit that is pretty BS as well.
Right.
whereas I definitely think, most of their theories are pretty spot on because they're very, very well researched. When they start going into predicting, you do kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because you do,
and also because again it was just right around the time the internet hadn't really done its thing yet, and like they were just living in a world. They wrote that book in a world where we were very young and hadn't made any mark on society yet.
Anything yet? It's like the Gen Zs are right now. They haven't done anything. We hadn't done anything until 1993 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we didn't really Gen X didn't really have we didn't have a core identity. That was our thing. We didn't have one. That's why we were Gen X.
Right. Yep. No labels. No. Just
not going to participate in your anarchy.
Right.
And I think. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's something that we're going to get into in the future, but I think it definitely being told that shaped who we were. Like being told that from that and that neglect from the previous generations, gave us our identity.
Yeah. And I agree with you there. I will change off. I will make sure there's no members only tags. I will take all of that off. I will change the thumbnails. So, so I will make it open to everybody. And that way you can watch the back.
Reality Bites was like our first big Gen X movie.
Yes.
That
Clerks, Reality Bites. Mm-hmm. And then Nirvana hit in 91. So like Gen X started making their mark in pop culture about 91, 92 is when we started kind of going. But by 2001, we were pretty much gone as far as mentioned. Gen X made all of the pop culture in the decade of the 2000s. We made all of the comedies. We made all the bands. They were all all the stuff that millennials loved. We made all of that.
But again, but that's also parallel to us too, because all the stuff that we loved
in the 80s, boomers made. Yes. Yeah.
I know you're not a big new wave fan, but being core Gen X, I am a huge new wave fan.
Right.
None of those fuckers are Gen X. They're all. They're all boomers. So.
Yep. They all were the boomers, and I know it's not that I don't like. I think that's a big difference between core Gen Xers and Zennials is love of music like that.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. I think that makes a big difference.
You weren't like I was, new wave started. I was 10 years old, so I was just starting to get into rock and roll and was getting tired of listening to my dad's playing the Beatles and the Stones and the
Right. When I was 10 years old, New Kids on the Block came out, so that kind of gives you an idea of where
that's where you were at.
That's where I was at.
I was listening to 99 Luftballons and Duran.
But it's so interesting. It's so interesting how even in our own generation, we have our own small cohorts. You got the Joneses from the youngest boomers, oldest Gen Xers. You got the Jones, and then you got the core, and then you got the Zennials. So I love that. I'm making a video about all this as we go through these books. I'm pulling stuff to be able to make a video about what is Gen X and all that later on.
Well, I mean, even like elder Gen X, the 60 whatevers,
the early 60s, mid 60s babies.
Mid 60s babies are, definitely the Generation Jones.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, you think about it, those people, the oldest Gen Xers were like 30 to 35 when 9/11 happened. I was 22. Like, that's a whole different world of how that affected a 22-year-old as opposed to how it affected a 35-year-old, or almost 40-year-old. So you want to get to know Grendelson Video?
I actually have my own channel. There's not.
Yeah. What's your channel? Promote your stuff while you're here.
I don't even know. I'll have it for next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll get it up for next week.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Grendelson. I appreciate the hangout and the conversation.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation, I think. I think it was. We got off the rails a little bit, but not too much.
Not as bad as I thought we would.
And I also I want to watch the documentary "The Century of the Self." I don't know if we can sit here and watch it on YouTube, or I'll have to push it over on Discord. But
well, I can use Discord now.
What was that?
I figured out how to use Discord.
Oh, good! Yay! I know. But yeah, it's on YouTube and it's amazing, and I think it will fit really well into when we get into the generation. When we get into the cycle of the great power cycle of the early 20th century, and then into the millennial cycle. The Century of the Self will be perfect companion to go with that time.
That stuff was so influential.
And how all that worked. So
I wanted to go back to like when they were talking about the 20s, and he was like, "What if things happened during the 20s?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that would have been really weird."
Right?
What if the person started 10 years earlier? Ooh.
Yeah. What if 9/11 would have happened in 1986, instead of Challenger? Like, how would that have changed things, when Reagan was president
what would have happened if Reagan had died?
Oh, yeah.
When he got shot in 81.
When he got shot. That's a good one.
Bush a good one. President.
This is what man, this would be such a fun channel to have, is like all alternate history of like, what if this would have happened? And then like,
I know that like George R.R. Martin used to indulge in that before he wrote the
Song of Fire, Ice Fire. Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a ton of that stuff.
It's just so fun.
There's actually a whole section of that stuff on what if the Civil War, went the other way.
Yeah.
That stuff's fascinating. So.
Yeah. Well, I know there was that TV show, The Man in the High Castle, which was about what if Germans would have won World War II.
That's a really good one. That's a great book, too.
Is it?
Also, if you're not watching it, I would highly recommend For All Mankind.
For All Mankind. Okay.
Yeah, on Apple. That's the story of the space program starting in the 60s.
Okay.
But the twist is the Russians got to the moon first.
Oh.
There is an actual one single point of divergence in history that they pinpoint changes things, and the whole cascade effect through, like, I don't know what their 4th or 5th season now. Fascinating.
Okay.
Each season takes place in a different decade.
Okay.
So like
I'm excited.
The 80s one is crazy.
Okay,
that's decade is crazy.
Oh, okay. For All Mankind, Apple. I'm there.
Yeah, it's actually worth it. I mean, Apple's got good stuff. I like.
Will I be remembering Robert Duvall? I'm not going to do anything like a video or anything like that, considering he was Silent Gen. Yeah. But still, I mean, freaking Robert Duvall, man.
And Jesse Jackson on the same day.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson died.
It's interesting though. I saw a lot of not liking for Jesse Jackson. I didn't realize he was not well.
He was really well known in the 80s, but he
was, and he was a positive I still remember his speech at the '88 convention.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
it was
He was
crazy.
a presidential candidate for that. He was at a time where he could have been that level of power, but didn't quite work out.
Yeah, but he was getting dragged earlier today.
Yeah. Yep.
What I saw.
I know. You know, that's what happens when you put yourself into the public eye and you take a stance on something. Some people are gonna love you and some people are gonna hate you.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Weird. I think it was more like towards the end of his life, he kind of started doing griftery kind of things.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think that's fair. Let me put in the century. I'm going to show you. Is there a Century of the Self trailer? Let me find out. Because for those of you that haven't seen the Century of the Self,
How much action this guy take?
it's pretty great. Century of the Self. Okay, here's a trailer just so you guys know what this is, and then we'll say goodbye. So let me share. Whoops. Gotta switch over here.
Settle.
All right, this is a documentary from 2002. This is a trailer for Century of the Self. Here we go.
Don't settle for anything less than you can do.
Song. It's probably copyrighted. But just so you all know, this is a documentary about communication and propaganda and how information has been put out in the United States and in the Western world for the since the advent of television and radio, and film. So
Also, it looks like it's a 4-part series, and
it's a 4-part series. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It is all on YouTube.
Yes, it's all on YouTube.
iPlayer if you're in the
UK. Which is what?
BBC iPlayer if you're in the UK.
BBC iPlayer. Yeah. Okay, all right. But yeah, there's a lot of history about a man named Edward Bernays. If you guys are not familiar with Edward Bernays, he is kind of the godfather or the creator of public relations, and
he's the
it's just basically how he was the man that created the idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and it's supposed to have eggs and bacon and toast and all these American breakfasts. Like he created all of that, and then he was the one that gave when Marlboro wanted to make women smoke, they created Marlboro Light, and they called them freedom torches, and they had all these pictures of women in Times Square at VJ Day smoking cigarettes. And it's the manipulation of American culture is basically what it is. So it's pretty crazy. Here's the rest of it. Yeah, here's the rest of it.
Oh, damn.
There's Edward Bernays. So yeah,
That
it's
looked like Sigmund Freud. Was that
yeah.
Bernays?
Well, Bernays was Sigmund Freud's nephew.
Yeah.
Which so it gets into a lot of the world of psychiatry and psychology and all that as well, and therapy.
That's how you manipulate people.
Yeah, it's how you manipulate people. So it's fascinating. That trailer did not do it justice. It's a 4-part doc, so we're gonna watch that on Discord at some point. But yeah, so yeah. It'll be really fun to watch that when we get into the 20th century of it all. So yeah, that's it for me. Grendelson, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight and talking generations. Thank you guys for watching tonight and your comments. I really appreciate it. Remember, we are kind of skimming through 7 and 8 next week. We are going to the Civil War cycle for chapter 9. That is the topic of next week's book club next Tuesday night. We'll see you later. Thank you, Grendelson. Bye. Fun. Thank you so much. Appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. I've had a great time. I'll talk to you on Friday.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.